hi guys. Welcome to join our webinar week, the day 2. We invite Vaxtor, Christine, to be the speaker to introduce the solution to each other. Okay, and we have Jason here as well. Hi.
Hi everyone. Nice to see you online.
Yeah.
Hi guys. Yeah.
So,
hi.
Because every time we do a webinar with Christine, we always share a lot of interesting experience. So I will not waste any time. Just hand over to Christine first.
Okay. Thanks very much, Andy. So thanks Jason for arranging this webinar. Okay. First of all, I have to apologize. Yeah, I have to apologize because myself, I have a little bit of background noise because I'm working from home and my home is near the airport. So you probably hear a little bit of so-called the airplane background noise. Please pardon me for that. All right. So without any further ado, please allow me to so-called just, I believe I'm sharing my screen right now, right? Jason?
Yes.
Yeah.
Andy?
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Cool. Okay. Probably without any further ado, just let me quickly share today's agenda. I'm going to share 5 topics today. So I would like to give you a quick introduction of Vaxtor. Some of you probably have ever heard about Vaxtor and you have participated in the past webinar before. However, today there are some latest technology updates. So please pay a little bit attention this time, okay? After that, okay, the second session actually is one of the main topic today. Is mainly to introduce different kind of case study and especially from different application perspective. The objective is to show you the entire seamless solution between Vaxtor and also NX. Whatever the solution we are going to introduce to you is it's not just a concept. We are not going to use you as a guinea pig. So whatever the solution we introduce here, it has already been deployed and we have tons of a project case study. And today we only choose 6 of them just to have a quick run through with you. Okay, so please pay attention when we come to this particular session. All right. So after all those presentation, the case study, the storytelling, the next part, I'm going to share some nice so-called video. So those video will be so-called corresponds to all those so-called different 6 different applications. So for each individual project, I'm taking one of the demo video so that you are not only hear the story, you also have the visibility of the actual project deployment. So that's a full package of experience. So this is the topic number 3. And the last topic 4 and the 5 are mainly focused on the integrated function between Vaxtor and NX. So let's go for a little bit of technical, which is at the topic number 4, which is we are talk about how does Vaxtor being integrated with network optics. And the final part, that will be again a lot of nice video movie session, basically share with you the full integration between Vaxtor and NX. Okay, ready? If you are, let's begin. Okay, so
fantastic.
Thank you. So as a starting, I have to always introduce Vaxtor as, okay, we are not just an ordinary video analytics company. Okay, we are the specialists of OCR and machine learning and deep learning. And this particular application is relevant to number plate recognition. The number plate can be categorized as license plate or so-called container ID or so-called railway train ID, plane ID. So, and also barcode number. Anything relevant with number, anything relevant with alphabet character, that's our expertise. Okay, so we are the specialists of this particular application. On top of that, because we have incorporated, this year we have incorporated more deep learning kind of software module. So we have add in the additional vehicle make model color recognition, MMC, And on top of that, we also have a vehicle type classification, V class. So those two are describe the so-called vehicle's attribute. Okay, so together we have the all the core engines at this moment. And in the later session, we'll be talk about some of the key application. So that's why I will skip this particular part just to save some time. Okay. Okay, so this is the global presence of Vaxtor. We are still the same. Okay, we are expanding in terms of manpower, but in terms of the global market presence are still at this 4 corner country. Our HQ is still at the UK, and we do have a branch in USA. Again, our European branch is at Spain, and most of the R&D software engineers are all located in Spain. Myself, I'm located in Singapore. I'm covering Asia Pacific market. I want to emphasize that again, yeah, Vaxtor software all located in Spain, which means much more cost effective. Okay, which means in terms of software price, it's competitive. Okay, so this is a key message. All right, although our HQ is at the UK. Okay, so this slide is very, very important. I just want to highlight. A lot of people asking, okay, tell me what's the difference between Vaxtor and the other so-called ALPR player. Okay, this is the difference. The difference is that basically for Vaxtor, all the engine are 100%. All the engine, all the application software are 100% developed by Vaxtor in-house. This makes a significant difference compared to most of the market player. How? Okay, there are 3 advantages for all the customers. Number 1, if you are located in a country which is none of the ALPR engine are able to recognize your local market's license plate grammar, please do approach us. Okay, our advantage is that we have our own OCR engine, which enable us to quickly adapt, to learn and adapt the new country's license plate grammar, license plate grammar, and we can quickly entry, adapt, develop, test. Okay, so we can very easily to venture out to new country, new region. So that's the reason why currently Vaxtor's engine is able to support up to 150 country and a district globally. So this is the advantage, which is for fast market entry perspective. That's number 1. Number 2, okay, we are not only looking for, just have the basic OCR engine to recognize your country's license plate. We are looking for higher accuracy rate achievement. How we can do that? Okay, this is because of our second so-called technology, which is machine learning. Typically, what we do is that once we get the basic grammar for that particular country, then we will use our own machine learning to keep on enhance the accuracy rate of that particular country's accuracy. That particular country's license plate accuracy rate. Okay, so that's the reason why you are not only able to recognize your country's license plate, we're also able to deliver a high accuracy rate. It's because of our unique machine learning technology. On top of that, the third advantage is that because we are holding all the different kind of technology and it's all developed in-house, that means we have the capability to keep on upgrade the license plate grammar or even more video analytics requirements, such as just now I mentioned vehicle attribute and vehicle classification. And right now we are using our machine learning to train new engine and for new application. So this is a very common for a lot of end users. If let's say you are the government end user, if let's say you are the smart highway end user, you probably want to have a software which is able to carry on the whole operation for not just 2 to 3 years, maybe in the next 5 years, 10 years, which is definitely you are going to experience your local market's license plate is keep on growing. The format is keep on changing. If you are engaged somebody which is the OEM, those engine from a party like us, typically they have to pay for the OEM, for the engine developer in order to adapt to the new grammar format. However, for Vaxtor case, we won't charge customer for that, because it's our responsibility to keep on adapting, keep on upgrade, keep on so-called cover all different use case, because we are directly deal with you. We are carrying Vaxtor's reputation right now. Okay, so that's the reason why 100% development engine in the house is very important, and it can bring a lot of benefit to you all. All right, so following 2 slides, basically just to show you a lot of different foreigner grammar we already able to support, such as other than the basic Latin character. Right now we are able to support Thai, which is from Thailand, Thai license plate, Cyrillics, which is for Mongolia license plate, and Arabic, which is for Middle East. Okay, Arabic is considered one of the most challenging plate. That's something like this, which is difficult to recognize and small in size. All right. So I already mentioned about this, and this is just a quick idea to look at what are those APAC countries right now Vaxtor is able to cover. Probably, I mean, of all those 33 attendees, maybe your country is one of them. So if your country is not in the list, probably you are more. You have a better reason to contact us, because you could be the so-called the early developer for your country to deploy ALPR application. Okay, so this is the APAC support list. Okay, in the next couple slides, those 3 slides, I'm going to talk a little bit of Vaxtor's technology. Okay, in the market, there are 3 popular technology. Okay, for license plate recognition or for number plate recognition. The number 1, which is OCR, optical character recognition, which is very popular for a lot of European players. And this is a very mature technology. It has been in the market for over 30 years. Okay, and the number 2, which is machine learning. Machine learning is kind of it's used less hardware resources, but it requires a lot of so-called training picture, and also require a lot of laboring, so manpower laboring. So it's a little bit of manpower intensive of method to train the database, okay, train the engine. And we also have the most popular one, which is everybody are talk about it, deep learning. So everybody was trying to code their system are using deep learning. Okay, from Vaxtor's perspective, basically, our technology, we are not only using one of those technology. We are using a hybrid version of technology. We have our own OCR. We have our own machine learning. We also have our own deep learning. Okay, by doing that, we have the capability to recognize those kind of very challenging license plate formats. Okay, please allow me to use this particular video to give you a quick demonstration. So I like to use this particular video. The reason is because it's very representative. Because okay, so this is Hong Kong's license plate, because Hong Kong has the one of the largest personalized plate format in APAC market. Okay, so which means if you are going to use deep learning training, it has to train for every new format. But once you allow the end user to self-define or to buy their own vanity plate, basically, it's very difficult. Yeah, I know there are a lot of very wild kind of.
It's the second time I watched the video, but I just can't help laughing.
So, but you know, if you have money, you can have any kind of combination. You can
exactly.
your own personalized plate. It's a nice way for the government to earn extra cash, but it's a very challenging type of a license plate for a lot of ALPR player, because especially for those deep learning engine. Imagine if, let's say, right now conservatively, Hong Kong has around 27,000 different type of personalized plate format. So as a deep learning engine, how many so-called picture, how many snapshots you need to collect in order to train, in order to adapt each individual new format is very challenging. But for Vaxtor, because we have our OCR engine, it's quite easy for us to adapt and support to recognize. So that's the reason why right now we have some kind of success in Hong Kong market. Okay, so just want to highlight this. Other than that, okay, another thing I think is worth mentioning is that Vaxtor actually start to expand in terms of technology. So this year we have acquired this particular company called Optical. It's a European base of deep learning engine company. So this particular company is very strong in terms of deep learning engine. All right, so and the deep learning algorithm they use is called mobile net. Okay, I want to mention about this is because for those people who have some technical knowledge in terms of deep learning engine, you probably know a lot of training algorithm in the market. But the difference for facial recognition training engine and the so-called ALPR training engine are totally different, the requirement. Because for license plate recognition, you need the engine to respond very fast, because we typically install our software to capture high-speed vehicle. But for facial recognition, your objective is to have as many a data set of that particular so-called person's face. So you need to have the high processing, but you do not need to have a very fast, high-speed object capturing. Okay, so in order to fulfill this high-speed object capturing, this requirement, previously YOLO was one of the very good engine. However, YOLO has been acquired by Apple, so that's the reason why YOLO probably in future will have some difficulty in terms of the latest version of update. So that's the reason why we decided to choose MobileNet, which is able to balance both the recognition speed and also the accuracy rate. All right, so okay. Because we acquired that particular deep learning company, right now we are able to achieve recognition of vehicle brand up to 470 brands, and the internal model is over 7,500 brands. And we are able to recognize trail color, and for vehicle classification, we can easily recognize motorcycle, bus, truck, van, pickup, all of those kind of vehicle classification. Vehicle classification has become more and more useful in terms of application, especially for smart highway. And later we will share a little bit more of the application. Okay, there are a lot of players in the market. They do mention they also can provide those kind of function. MMC vehicle classification. The next question I would recommend you to ask is that how many. Ask them to list down how many brand, how many model they can recognize. Okay, most of player probably is at 100 plus of vehicle brands. So instantly you will know specialists and the generalists, the difference. All right. Okay, the next slide, I would like to quickly highlight that VaxALPR solution is not a closed solution. It's a totally open solution. The reason is because no matter for the so-called the edge base of ALPR software or the PC base of ALPR or OCR software, we all have the built-in API, and we can instantly auto send the metadata to a third-party software. So it's very easier to integrate with third party. Even for our backend, so-called the database management software called Helix, okay, is also provide the ready SDK by REST. So any third-party dashboard software, higher tier of software, probably later will be talked about, such as for CPOP, you'll probably have the TOS terminal operation software. So for them, they can just grab whatever information from Helix with a ready interface. All right. So that's the key message for this particular slides. And until this slide, I just give you a very quick introduction of a Vaxor background and those technology we use. From the next slide onwards, we will be focused on those case study. Okay, if you have any question, please do feel free to input into the chat box, or you can just raise up in the Q&A session later. Okay, so this session will be interesting. We are going to talk about these 6 different kind of solution. Okay, Vaxor Smart City, Vaxor Smart Highway, Vaxor Smart Mobile Enforcement, Vaxor Smart Parking, and the Vaxor Smart Car Park Payment. And lastly, Vaxor Smart Seaport solution. Okay, so let's look at each one of them. So the first one, Vaxor Smart City application. Some of you might saw this particular case study before. I have to bring this up because it's so significant. Okay, it's very typical, so it can be represent a lot of interesting concept. So this is our Maldives Smart City project. Basically, this is a highway to link 2 islands together. This is a capital island, and this is a airport island. And we deploy the camera along the highway and also a bridge. So basically, the reason end user looking for this solution is because they have been experiencing very high speed violation and also the accident caused by speed, okay, by speeding. So they really would like to address this problem once for all. So that's the reason why we have proposed so-called this design concept. And for this particular project, actually we deployed together with Axis camera, all right? So basically we installed the one typical camera on this is a highway or the bridge. So those kind of gray color so-called pole actually is a horizontal pole installed on the lamp pole. Okay, so we install the camera on the lamp pole itself. So basically this particular camera, it will be function as multiple function. Number 1 is a basic surveillance camera. And the number 2 is so-called the ALPR database big data collector. You can collect a lot of license plate information for the police, to facilitate their database. And the number 3 is also function as a speed detector. This is very critical because right now in the market, most of the speed enforcement deployment, people have to deploy a separate speed sensor. Okay, a separate speed sensor basically, based on the past experience, a speed sensor or a speed camera, it won't address speeding issue once for all. This is what we call a typical scenario is called kangaroo effect, which means not a lot of so-called your driving maps apps have built in with the function to tell you where is the speed sensor. Okay, so a lot of drivers, when they drive on the way, your apps will tell you, oh, please pay attention, there's a speed camera up front approaching you. All right, everybody will be slowed down when you approach the speed camera, and after that you probably will speed up again. So in a way, it's like it didn't really address the speeding issue. Okay, then probably you will be asked, then how do you ensure your system is able to address this problem? Okay, the key message is that we can turn any camera into a speed camera. Even your apps doesn't know which camera is a real speed camera. Okay, so basically this is a software configuration base. We can choose any camera along the way and group them into a so-called a section or average speed detection camera. All right. So when you drive, you have no idea any camera could be a speed sensor. Wouldn't you pay extra attention over your speed? right? So, so that's the reason why speed detection has become, I mean, average speed detection has become more and more popular in order to address speeding issue entirely. Okay, so this is a very effective and a trending solution. All right. So other than that, we also deploy this so-called red light violation solution. Okay, for this red light violation solution, basically the objective is very simple. We use the camera to detect red light violation, red light cross violation, that kind of case. Okay, so but the key information is that unlike a lot of traditional design, people always have to link your so-called red light camera or ALPR camera to the traffic light relay controller. Okay, and in order to detect whether there's a vehicle overrun this particular line, people still have to so-called excavate this particular road and embed the loop detector. Okay, if you choose Vaxtor's red light violation solution, you can avoid all those kind of extra costs. First of all, you just use two cameras. One is to look at the traffic light status, which is from the software itself through computer vision, we are able to identify what is the traffic light current status, okay, without really linked to the traffic light relay controller. Number one. Number two, okay, so for the excavation, we will no longer need the so-called system integrator to do land excavation, and you'll not need to spend money and the time to apply for that kind of permit. And you also no need to spend extra time to do the installation at the night because you're supposed to stop the whole normal operation. Okay, so all those extra costs will be avoided simply because you use a better technology solution. All right, so soon I'm going to share with you some nice demo video once we capture the kind of violation from this particular project. Yeah, so it's ongoing. We are going to complete this deployment of this project. All right, so okay, this is another interesting module, which is a lot of smart city. Eventually, they need this particular module. Okay, why? Because we can, as a so-called police, as a traffic police, as a smart city, you can capture as much as a traffic violation. End of the day, you have to so-called materialize this particular ticket, right? So in a way, it's like you have to send the penalty ticket to the violator, right? So for us, we basically consider the penalty event capture. So Vax's software are able to capture all those so-called sanction event. We call sanction event, and we have a module able to pass all those events to, for example, traffic police or the police, their so-called violation ticket software. So based on those event details, traffic police are able to, to send out the penalty ticket. For this case, for example, a red light violation, the penalty money is about $500, or if not, they have been deducted for penalty point, for 12 points. So either one, okay? So once they have those kind of measurements, so ways to improve the traffic situation, okay? So this is a whole suite of the package and it's available. Okay, next we move on to talk about smart highway. This is a Vietnam project, Vietnam highway project, and this particular project is pretty traditional in terms of the design. It's very basic. So basically, we deploy the ALPR together with RFID at all those so-called those highway pole. Okay. So the objective is to make sure in case the RFID this is broken, so you still have the ALPR to capture as a secondary verification method. All right. The one thing I want to highlight is that for this particular project, customer also deploy a weighing in motion, that kind of system. Okay, wing in motion is typically a wing skill to be installed along the highways, so-called the ticketing booth. Because for most of the highway, typically the one who damaged the highway, it shall be those kind of heavy duty truck instead of a small car. So that's the reason why it's reasonable for the highway operator to capture any overweight truck and also capture their license plate so that the operator are able to send out the so-called the penalty ticket to those kind of overweight truck drivers. All right. So for this particular case study, the key message I want to highlight is the API integration capability for VaxALPR solution. Okay, so VaxALPR itself is a very complete solution. We are not just an engine provider. We are providing the solution, which means itself is already a two-tier system. We have the database management software at each individual toll plaza, and on top of that, all the information are sent back to the Helix Central, which is located at the command and control center. So there's a two-tier of management system, and for different authority level, they only can see their own authorized information. Okay. And the API integration, basically, they are getting information from this Helix centralized database, and we can integrate with third-party RFID and also third-party wing motion system. All right. The next one is also an interesting application, smart mobility enforcement. So probably a lot of you have heard of something like this, but I think that maybe this is my first time to share this case study. Yeah, because previously this is considered classified. We knew we did this, we can talk about this, but we have nothing to show because it's classified. Until last year, August, we have been awarded the second phase, and also Singapore police, they have a so-called accept an interview by Singapore Channel News Asia. So we are one of the beneficiaries from that particular interview. Then we have all those material to share. Yeah. Yes. Okay, I thought somebody have some kind of a comment on this. Okay, so basically it's a very interesting project. If anyone had any so-called ALPR experience, you probably know mobile ALPR is more challenging than fixed ALPR because you have the constant changing camera angle, constant changing your own vehicle speed and your surrounding vehicle speed, constant changing lighting conditions. So that's adding additional challenging factor to capture an accurate license plate. So for this particular project, we are not only deploy for basic license plate recognition, we also deploy for vehicles brand, model, color recognition. So it's a little bit of enhancement. Okay, actually I have this particular video, but I realize it's a bit time consuming to present that particular video. So that's the reason why I would love to share with you the source of this particular video. If you go to vaxtor.com and the case study, there are a lot of case study for you to, okay, this is our CPOP project, which later I'm going to share. This is our Maldives Smart City project. If you go to second page, and under this law enforcement, Singapore Police Fast Response, and you are able to find more detailed information here. Okay, so as the last part, this is a video which is uploaded on YouTube. So you please do feel free to retrieve the details. This is being reported by Singapore Channel News Asia. So there's a lot of more information for you to explore if you are interested to on this particular topic. Okay, so okay, Just quickly highlight the overall solution structure. Just now we talk about for the smart highway, there's a two-tier system, right? So for this particular structure, actually, we consider this as a three-tier system. So why three-tier? So for each individual police car, actually, we do have a local helix, which is used to collect all the local mobile ALPR data. But concurrently, all those mobile vehicles are sending those information to the helix server through either 3G, 4G, or Wi-Fi. Tiers of configuration is possible. This is the camera deployment. Fortunately for those project design, we kind of provide a 360, which is a front, back, left, and right, that kind of coverage.
Hi, Christine. Christine,
yeah,
your voice just lost for a while, so I think you need to repeat again for last page, for the previous page.
This
page.
Yeah.
When you explain this one, you lost your voice.
Oh, okay,
sure. Yes.
Now is it better?
Yes, correct.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Okay, let me just repeat this particular page then. Okay, thanks for the reminder. Yeah. Okay, so basically I was trying to explain that Vaxtor's solution, other than just now we explained the smart highway, which was a two-tier system. This is a three-tier system. Why we consider this a three-tier system? Because we do have the local helix, which is installed inside the police car, and it's used to collect the database from those mobile ALPR engine, okay? And all those information will be sent to the centralized helix server, all right? So this is considered two-tier system. So the communication can be 3G, 4G, or Wi-Fi. Then from here, basically the information, it can be further shared with, for example, traffic police sister company, some other government agency. So they can access these platforms information through this helix client, all right? So, but depend on their access right, they're only limited to share those information authorized to. Okay, so that's why we have a 1-tier, 2-tier, and a 3-tier. We call this a 3-tier platform. Okay, so far so good. Clear? My voice okay?
Yes, no problem.
Yeah, okay, good.
Cool. Okay, then please allow me to explain this. Okay, this is to explain the camera mounting location. Just now I mentioned for any police car we can mount. We have designed for 4 different camera installation. So front, back, left, and right. Okay, so it's kind of a 360 kind of coverage. One thing I want to highlight is that the camera we use is not those kind of very expensive of ALPR camera, which is very popular in Europe or in US or Europe. Okay, which is one piece of a camera is already cost you, 5 figures, 6 figures, that kind of category of cost. For us, we just use the normal IP surveillance camera, but it's the transportation grade. Okay, so simple like that. So that's the reason why customer is affordable to install up to 4 different kind of ALPR camera just on one piece of one set of police car. Okay, so this is the one key message I would like to highlight here. So for motorcycle, we also can the design is one for the front camera and another one for back camera in order to capture the surrounding car's information. All right. Okay, so the next case study.
Christine, sorry, interrupt
Yeah.
you.
Sure.
For that structure, the local helix send the live stream directly to the helix server to analytics or just analytics in the local server.
Okay, the video analytics is done by local.
Done by local.
Okay, so for local helix is sending the data to central helix.
Just data, right?
Yeah, just data.
Okay, thanks.
So that's the reason why you require bandwidth are very minimum, because you only send data or at most picture.
Okay,
clear.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the next is a smart parking application. So for this particular case study, actually is one of our Australia power substation project. Okay. So this power substation company basically they have a very wide coverage for Australia Victoria region. Okay. So their company's main job scope is to transmit the power from the power plant all the way to the different district until to the individual home. So that's the reason why they do have a lot of power substation at a lot of remote places. Okay, because the location is all very much so-called discarded at a different kind of places. So they need a centralized management software in order to help them to better control, manage the vehicle access information. So for this particular project, there are over 100 plus of substation. Just to highlight some of the key challenges they have experienced. This case actually has been raised after the recent very famous Australia wildfire case. So the wildfire actually has destroyed some of the power substation, which is the typical damage consequence is huge, especially for power substation. So that's the reason why they use the opportunity to look for a system which is able to help them to better manage their so-called contractor or maintenance contractor or their own employee when they go to the different power substation. Some of them is manned substation, some of them is unmanned substation. So which means, especially for unmanned substation, how can they enable their own contractor or their own authorized employee to go into the premises without wasting too much time to come back to the central to get the so-called key for the padlock, the traditional management method. So that's the reason why so-called handy ALPR centralized with a different kind of access control functionality will be able to fit into the picture. So this is something very basic. Another thing I want to highlight is there's a roll call function, which is very, very handy, and it is kind of just nice for that kind of situation, because roll call is the objective for roll call is to use one key to quickly retrieve what are those vehicles are still so-called registered in one particular location and has not accessed out. Okay, this is very useful for a critical case, for example, the wildfire, right? So when the wildfire coming, you have a lot of unmanned station. You want to have the immediate information for the so-called the ambulance or the fire engine, to let them know how many people they shall rescue from the premises. How do you know? So if let's say you have 10 cars, so at least you have 10 driver inside, right? So basically this software is to work hand in hand with some of the access control. Access control also have this particular function for those kind of professional access control. They are more control the employee with access card. So for us, we use this particular function to gather information of the vehicle based on the license plate. Okay, so this is pretty high level kind of functionality. Cross time are very basic. Cross time, basically we are able to automatically calculate the total vehicle parking time, which is very handy for some of the project. Okay, this is one of the interesting so-called use case I would like to share. Okay, I probably have to quote Andy again. Okay, apologize, there's some noise. Okay, is my audio okay, Andy?
No problem.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So basically, Andy have asked me this question is that Vaxtor, he knew Vaxtor is able to detect blacklist vehicle. So he was asking me, what if those vehicle, for example, terrorist vehicle, we do not have the record them as a blacklist? How can we detect those kind of potential high risk vehicle? Okay, so this use case basically is the best reflect that kind of situation. Okay, for any kind of a power substation is considered very critical infrastructure and is very under high risk and the high for terrorist target, right? So basically that's the reason why this particular power substation has been located at a very secure so-called path of line, because at those three set of the design, this set is the railway station, and this set is a river, and this set is the so-called the main road. So basically, based on this design, the most high risk area is this part, because this part typically unlikely people will access, and this part unlikely people will access. Okay, so if let's say we focus on this particular area, we design those 5 cameras to create as a virtual zone, and we use this virtual zone to monitor any vehicle which is drive with abnormal behavior. Okay, how to consider abnormal behavior? If let's say we put ourselves into the terrorist shoe, okay, if I'm the terrorist and I'm planning to attack these particular places, the first thing I'm going to do perhaps is a site survey, right? So I need to know where should I place my bomb, and once I place my bomb, where is the best location for me to escape, right? So in order to do that, one driving trip is not enough. So I probably will come to here a couple of times, and maybe I will stop somewhere and try to look through the details. Okay. So sorry about the noise. Okay. So basically, Vaxtor software, it allows user to self-define those kind of abnormal behavior. We can detect, for example, a particular vehicle has been appear in a particular road for abnormally very high frequency within a short time, a very short period of time. Okay, so all those kind of pattern is so-called configurable, and once we detect those kind of so-called potential high risk vehicle, we can add those vehicle license plate into the blacklist monitoring panel, so that when those kind of suspicious vehicle approach again, there will be an automatic alarm. Okay, so that's a whole suite of the solution has been designed to address different kind of scenario. Okay, just to quickly refresh this particular design, the reason is because cloud has become a popular so-called new technology trend. And for Vaxtor, our so-called the database management software, Helix, basically is able to run on the cloud. So in a way, it's like, for example, we use just now the Australia wildfire case. If let's say their data center has been damaged, but eventually once they upload all the data to the cloud, it's still keep the basic operation running. So it's kind of very useful for critical infrastructure project. Okay. All right. So the next we talk about smart car park payment system. This has become very, very popular. I think it's going to getting even more popular in the near days. Okay, here are some data. Basically, is indicate one of our largest customer in Hong Kong, which is called Hong Kong Housing Society. They are considered the second largest government housing developer in Hong Kong. So so far, Vaxtor has deployed around 300 to 400 different channels for simply just for the parking application. So basically, for this particular project, we are working with a local Hong Kong local payment terminal provider. So they were using the Optix card to do the payment, but the payment is calculated based on the Vaxtor feedback information. We will tell the payment system which license plate to charge and how long they have parked, so that they can decide how much they shall charge this particular vehicle. And on top of that, actually, a lot of shopping malls are exploring those kind of solutions, not because of to earn the parking fee, but more towards the loyalty program. Okay, so they would love to keep all their customers by giving free parking if, let's say, they have consumed at least certain amount in the shopping center. So this is a very good marketing tools in order for the shopping center to keep the high so-called patron rates. All right. So okay, Smart Seaport. Smart Seaport is a very fast growing vertical. All right. So this year perhaps we have a lot of new projects from the Smart Seaport vertical, and then this is a very significant or distinctive project which I have done together with Andy. So because this particular project are using full integration between Vaxtor and the NX. So this is a deep sea port, and the annual throughput is at 120,000 TU, which means 20 full equivalent unit, that kind of container. All right. So for our deployment, basically we deploy the Seaport Smart Gate solution for this particular customer. But in order to deploy the whole Seaport to convert a normal port into a smart port, Smart Gate solution is only the first phase. Okay, typically there are three phases. First phase is a Smart Gate. Second phase is a Smart Crane. If you look at those kind of crane, okay, those crane basically they mainly to so-called upload or load the containers from the vessel to the seaport itself, right? So after we cover the Smart Gate, which is mainly for truck, entered into the seaport access, okay, which is what we call the land set. So this is the sea set. That's the next phase we will approach to the seaport. Okay. After we done the sea side, the third phase is called Smart Yacht system. So which means we will help the seaport to manage their entire yacht, so that they are able to trace and track and manage which particular container has been located, and they can counter check with their entire ports QoS system, terminal operation system, so that they are able to identify whether a particular container has been misdelivered to a wrong location or misdelivered to a wrong vessel to the wrong destination. So that's a very useful kind of information management IoT system. Okay. So for this particular project, we have deployed not just ALPR, but also container ID and Helix, and we have a seamless integration with network Optix. So to the end user, the experience is that they enjoy all the information is just through one platform, which is NX. They can see everything from NX. They don't need to switch or juggle between different interface. Okay, so later I will share some of the demo video, which should be interesting for you all in the last 2 sessions. Okay. All right. So that was the storytelling session. Okay, so the next is the movie session because we are going to look through some of the interesting demo video. And all those video basically is relevant to all those case study I shared a moment ago. So the first one is a Maldives smart city. So just please bear with me. Let me just bring up that particular video. Okay, where's my Maldives? Here you go. Okay, the reason I'm sharing this particular video is that actually it's because of this. If you pay attention, actually you can see the camera is shaking heavily, right? So okay, the reason was because Maldives is an island, so there's a very strong so-called seaside wind. And on top of that, for the lamppost itself is 7 meter tall, okay, 7 meter high, that kind of lamppost. But the problem is that the lamppost was not designed for that kind of application, so the lamppost is very thin. And after they install the horizontal so-called extension bracket, so plus the camera's weight because of height, so then it's keep on shaking. The good news is that even with that kind of condition, VaxALPR are still be able to recognize the so-called the license plate number. So I guess it's worthwhile to share with everybody. It's a kind of abnormal case. Okay. Okay. Next, let's take a look of highway. Okay, so remember just now we talked about the Vietnam highway design was a little bit of old school design, right? Traditional design. So now the popular highway basically are using not just the license plate, which is the travel distance between two toll plaza. Instead, they also consider what kind of vehicle actually this particular license plate belong to. So, for example, this particular truck, right, is a heavy duty truck. So for this particular truck, if let's say it's passing through this toll plaza, and when this particular truck reach the next toll plaza, they shall pay more toll fee than just a normal car itself. So how does the highway operator so-called be sure about they can charge, or some of the very smart sorry, my side a bit noisy, so just bear with me a little bit. Okay, some of the very smart truck drivers, they kind of using, you know, different kind of maybe just a car's registered license plate. So for example, Vietnam, they do have a centralized so-called license plate register information. So if you only based on the license plate, so-called the background register database, you will be able to capture wrong information. So that's the reason why we need the real vehicle shape, vehicle classification system in order to identify, to confirm this is actually a truck instead of a normal car. All right. So if let's say we look at the each individual particular transaction itself, so for example, okay, so all those, okay, maybe let me use this one. Okay, for example, this one, we are able to recognize not just the license plate, but also the brand, model, color, and the type of the car, and also the direction. Okay. Another thing I want to highlight is that most of the so-called ALPR software to recognize vehicles, brand, model, color, they need to look at the front view of this particular vehicle. But in the actual case, a lot of smart city project, for example, Vietnam, right? In maybe Indonesia and also Philippines, India, there are a lot of motorcycles. So in order to identify motorcycle, you need to look at the real view because for motorcycle, the back plate is more accurate. So that's the reason why for VaxALPR solution is able to identify the vehicle's so-called vehicle attribute, not only from the front view, but also from the back view as well. For example, this one, right? So all the detailed information is still can be recognized from the back view of this particular vehicle. And all right, let me see. Do I have a truck? Okay.
Christine. Hello, Christine. Jason, can you hear me?
I can't hear Christine either. Let's wait a bit.
Yeah.
Hi, Christine. Can you hear us? Hello, Christine. Can you hear us?
Christine. I think
Andy,
just the same.
can you hear me, Andy?
Yeah, sure.
Just
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
This is one of the front view of the camera. Yeah. And we also have the back view camera and also left view camera and the right view camera. If let's say you are interested in this kind of solution, please do contact with either Andy or Jason or myself. Later we will give you our contact detail. So we can discuss in detail and share with you more informations. Okay, so because of time pressure today, I just show a little bit to give you a little bit of idea, then we can explore further. All right. So okay, the next a couple of demo video. This is the Australia wing bridge demo video. Okay, the reason I'm sharing this particular use case and this demo video is not just to share the basic functionality. Okay, let me share this. Okay, this is a typical Australian wing bridge. So which means that when the vehicle is so-called passing through this wing bridge, our software will be able to capture the license plate. All right. So, but this is only part of the solution. So typically, this is a self-service wing bridge. For the driver, they shall go to a so-called interactive self-service kiosk. So the next thing they need to do is that they need to select this particular, okay, they will be present with this particular GUI at the self-service kiosk because the license plate is automatic captured by Vaxtor software. So the license plate has been automatically filled in. So for the driver, they just acknowledge whether this is correct, or if it's not correct, they can manual key in by themselves. So once the information being registered, the weighing station basically are able to record down the entire vehicle's weight and all the details together with the license plate as an index. And for the driver, they can print this as a receipt, so for their own record. Once all those information are generated, so basically the information will be sent back to their back-end management software. So they have all the record indexed by the different license plate number and the different transaction, what are the total weight, the gross weight and the actual weight, all those information. So with all those information, the weight management so-called company are able to charge the individual so-called transportation company with all those evidence detail, transaction detail. Okay. So, okay, the next one, just to share the indoor car park. Okay, maybe I just go straight to the dwelling. Dwelling maybe is more interesting. Okay. Okay, so just want to, right now a lot of so-called vehicle search system, vehicle search solution are become very, very popular. So when your vehicle are installed indoor or outdoor of the car park itself, user are able to key in their own vehicle license plate number in order to locate where was the parking location, right? So the basic engine is that you need to have a camera to be able to capture the license plate and also feed the information to the vehicle search software. Okay, here we just show you a demo video, but this demo video is to showcase more than so-called the basic license plate recognition. Okay, first of all, this software is able to automatically calculate the total parking time based on one particular license plate. So for example, for this particular vehicle, the entry time for this GBH, the entry time was 233559, okay? And the exit time is 233916. So the total parking time is 20 seconds, okay? But if let's say we play this particular video a little bit longer, actually we did a simulation by using this vehicle to block this vehicle's license plate. Okay, while this gray van is still parked at the parking lot. Okay, because once the camera won't be able to see the license plate, most of the engine will consider this particular so-called truck has left this particular parking lot. But we did deploy a new software, a new function which is called dwelling time. And what we did was that we have a way to still be able to trace or track this particular vehicle are here. Okay, so although the entire license plate has been blocked for a pretty quite some time. Okay, let me fast forward a little bit. So, but only when this particular gray van leaving this parking lot, then the software will be recognized that there's a leaving time. So far for this GBH 9015H is only have a one enter timestamp, right? There's no exit until this particular van really exit this particular lot and is captured this particular exit timestamp. And this particular total parking time is based on the last exit and the so-called the recent entry, the total difference. All right. So this is what we call dwelling time, which is very useful for vehicle search, that kind of application. Okay. So, okay, that was one of the interesting case, and another one is also very interesting. So this is our okay. For this particular case was because the end user was looking for a solution to identify license plate number for outdoor car park. Okay. For example, just now we saw the first video is pretty easy because you probably have a way to mount the camera to look at the three lot together, right? But for a lot of actual car park, in order to well utilize the space, they have a vast area, and you have no way to mount your camera. So the only way you mount your camera, perhaps a centralized lamp pole, or maybe some lamp pole just scattered around this particular car park. So what we did was to to leverage on a PTZ camera. Okay, so if you look at this, we are able to identify the license plate, for example, PT6909. And we're also able to send the car part lots number, which is a 1101, to the backend, the car search software. Okay, so then in that case, one PTZ camera are able to cover more than 10 or more than 12, you know, a lot of so-called car park lots, but it's only use one camera, and it's for outdoor car park, you know, outdoor car search, that kind of application, and it can be specified to each individual lot itself. Okay, so this is another interesting solution, which I believe it could be pretty interesting for some of your project. Okay, so just want to share. Okay, the last three, the last three, correct. The last three, two of them are relevant with axis camera. Okay, actually for VaxALPR, we can be very versatile in terms of platform. We can install our software on camera chipset. We can install our camera on Windows-based or PC. We can install camera in Linux-based or H box, and we also can install software on the Android-based of mobile phone. Okay, so there are 4 different platforms. So that's the reason why I want to share with you this particular demo video, which we deploy on Axis camera chipset. This is for MMC deployment. So just give me 1 minute to search. Where is my MMC? Okay, here you go. Okay, all right. So, okay. So as you can see, we basically are able to run this particular software on camera chipset itself. While for Axis case, we can deploy on a very large range of a camera model. It can be a dome type camera, can be bullet type, can be box type. As long as the camera chipset platform is ALPR camera, which is I think more than 90% of Axis camera is already upgraded to ALPR platform. So right now we are able to support both ALPR 6 and 7, which is the 2 of the most latest version. Okay, the key message is that we are not only recognize license plate from the age base of software, we also be able to recognize the brand, model, color, and including vehicle classification, which is didn't display here, but we can recognize that as well. Okay, so this is the age base of deployment. Let me share with you another age deployment, which is container ID. This is another interesting deployment. The reason is because container ID software is very heavy and very resources consuming. So it's kind of challenging to so-called deploy on the camera edge. But again, we are able to recognize that we are able to deploy same on any Axis camera, ALPR 6 or ALPR 7, no problem. So the advantage for edge base of a deployment is that if let's say you have a vast area of a deployment, or if let's say you have very bad network, for example, some of the CPORT basically you have a lot of metal structure. So and also if you cannot install, for example, fiber optic on the key crane, because key cranes keep on moving, right? So there's no way for you to install fiber. So typically people will install Wi-Fi, mesh, or nowadays popular is 5G, you know. But if like in case you have the network failure, that kind of problem, with the edge base, especially the collaboration between Vaxtor and Axis, the advantage is that Vaxtor are able to save all the lifetime recognition result in the Axis SD card, even though there's a network failure. So whenever the network is resumed back, VaxALPR are able to push all those transactions to the higher tier of Helix software for centralized data collection. So in a way, basically, we are able to prevent the data loss when the network is break between the edge device and the backend database software. All right. So that's the reason why sometimes this type of application is necessary. However, if your hot project require a so-called a fast-speed vehicle recognition, something like this. Okay, so this is a Singapore port. So basically what we did was that we recognize the container truck while it's moving. So there's a non-stop. It's not a stop and go that kind of scenario. So because recognize a container ID while it's moving is much more resources consuming. So that's the reason why we need to install the software on a decent PC or edge box, other than camera edge. Okay. Okay. Can you hear me well? Because I'm seems there's a network issue, is it?
Yeah, clear.
Yep, we can still hear you well.
Okay, sure. Because I got a automatic alert message and asked me to turn off my video cam because of the bad network. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So okay, other than the speed issue, another thing I want to highlight is that if you look at the container ID information we recognize, it's not only just the container ID, right? So we are able to recognize the entire owner, city, country, size, type, control digit, and the validation level. All those information can be sent to the CPOS QoS system. Okay. The benefit is that there's no need for them to find other software, video analytics software, try to identify, try to rate, for example, they have those kind of a detailed placement card, which is indicate all those information. But for us, we can feedback all those information just by look at this particular container ID number. Why we can do that? Because we do have a so-called a database update agreement with BCA. BCA is an international container bureau, which is located in France. Okay, so we try to do quarterly database update in order to guarantee whatever the information are up to date. Okay, so this could be very, very handy for a lot of CPOP operator. Okay, just want to highlight this. All right. Okay, so we have quickly run through all the different video. The next, we shall be focused on the integration between NX and the Vaxtor. Okay, let's talk about technical. Okay, so technical is only one slide. Okay, because I'm a salesperson. Okay, so basically the integration between Vaxtor and the NX are from two different stages. The first part is the engine level integration, which means that we have already integrated Vaxtor's ALPR engine or OCR engine, container ID engine into NX with a very tight integration. So that's the reason why later I will share with you some of the demo video. So all the metadata, basically, it can be pushed to NX and you can do a lot of so-called triggering. Another type of integration, basically, we are able to embed our Helix into NX. So in a way, it's like for the end user, they can view all the information, manage all the alarm alert without switching to any platform. So it's a one single seamless user experience for the customer. They can do everything from NX platform. Okay, so just to quickly highlight, for Helix itself is a so-called function as a multiple use. it can be used for database collection, big data so-called collector. And on top of that, it can also be used as a vehicle access control or container access control system, because you can program access level, access time, access location, and it also can trigger the barrier to open if the access right is correct. Okay, then the most importantly, it can be function as a alarm alert monitoring platform. So for example, most of popular ITS, intelligent traffic system, so overspeed, red light violation, and wrong speed, blacklist, so on and so forth. Okay, so next we need to share some of the interesting demo video, which is between Vaxtor and the NX. Okay, let me just open this thing up. NX. All right. So before I go, let me just to quickly. Okay. So there are a lot of demo videos available, but I will be choosing some of the more popular or more significant one, because yeah, we have a lot of demo video to share. From ALPR perspective, perhaps we will be take a look of a Boomap video and Boomap search. All right. So okay, so this one is a Boomap. All right. So basically, the first half of the image is Vaxtor's live ALPR recognition, and the second half is the NX interface. So first of all, for any success recognition, there is an overlay message here, and on top of that, a dedicated Boomap video has been created here. Okay, so it will be created in NX. And what user can do is that they can, from the so-called the register, the Boomap, they can search a particular interested video. Okay, then they can export that particular video, and for their so-called evidence or further investigation purpose. So what they can do is they can search. For example, in this case, they just search a partial search a license plate or container ID from the network Optix. Then they can just export this video as a separate, evidence. All right. So just want to share this particular function. Other than that, okay, this could be interesting. So basically, we are able to identify blacklist vehicle, and upon any blacklist vehicle identification, there's a so-called a red color alarm alert from NX. All right, so this is the video itself. So this vehicle actually we register it as a blacklist vehicle. So just check this thing out. Once it's approaching, NX basically is having those kind of red color alarm alert, and there's a note indicate this is a blacklist. Under this blacklist V2. Okay, and also the a dedicated video has been recorded in those kind of situation. Other than that, we also have a whitelist, because it's very similar as blacklist, so I won't demo it now. And we have a so-called container ID integration. So let me just share the whole container ID integration demo video. So again, for every container passing by, the container ID basically it will be sent to NX, and there is a so-called a particular overlay message, and the coordinator video actually are recorded. So as a user, they can choose. They can search a particular recorded video by different date, time, or different camera, or more straightway they can just search with the partial container ID, partial container ID label. Then in that case, they are able to so-called retrieve all the relevant records, then just export the bookmark video. All right. So this is the engine level of integration. The next thing I want to share is the application level of integration, which is here. Okay, remember just now we mentioned there are two types of integration: engine level and application level. So for for application level, basically what we can do is that users still log into NX interface. Okay, log into NX interface. And from in NX, they are able to open VaxSa's Helix and to do all kind of monitoring, alarm alert just from the same interface within NX itself. So, for example, for this case, we use NX, this particular interface, to capture alarm alert for blacklist vehicle. Okay, so if I say I have registered any particular blacklist vehicle passing by, and if you take a look, there is a blacklist alert for this particular vehicle, and this particular vehicle's transaction has been highlighted into yellow. And once user double click all the transactions, so user basically is able to download the picture, and the picture can be submitted for to the police for the so-called evidence. All right, so everything is all happen in the NX interface. This is one. The next one is a speed alert. Okay, so which means it's the same thing. We're logging from NX so-called interface. Then after that, just open Helix. So whenever I have any kind of speed alert happening, okay, let me do the simulation. So we are running the ALPR and measure the vehicle speed. So as you can see, so for this case, we set the speed limitation at 25 km/h. So anything more than 25, there will be a so-called alarm alert. So you can see it's keep on coming, the speed alert. So here there's a summary and highlight for those so-called overspeed vehicle. And again, the entire experience is all within the NX itself. Okay, so this is for speed alert integration. All right, so all details can be retrieved from one single platform. The next, which is another interesting one, this is the integration between NX and the Helix, VaxSa's Helix. Because Vaxtor has deployed a new module called dashboard. So as long as we have all those ALPR, MMC, alarm alert, all those data. So from Helix itself, we are able to present all those nice graphs. And this graph, it can be directly displayed inside the NX, you know, without open another software. So basically, this particular dashboard can be very, very useful. So for example, this part of the panel basically is to indicate the total plate detect per camera. So for example, camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, camera 4. Okay. So basically, we can set there is a benchmark. Okay. So if let's say the quantity, let's say is more than certain amount, then it will be keep on changing color in order to alert the operator that, you know, this camera basically is having a lot of more vehicles passing by. Okay, what are the typical application is that at the traffic junction, if let's say I can create a zone which is able to detect the live vehicle which is a park under this particular zone. So if let's say for this particular zone is over certain benchmark, that means this particular traffic junction is going to have a traffic jam case very soon. So then in that case, with a one instant color change, the operator is able to, you know, change their traffic light sequence in order to divert all the traffic flow. Okay, so speed, we also can use those graphics to instantly identify, okay, which particular date actually you have a lot of overspeed event, and which particular camera actually have a event, let's say it's more than 25, then it's highlight into red color. Then that means that's a overspeed, that kind of event. Then once we can double click that particular event in order to retrieve all the details. Okay, so here basically is a pie chart to indicate vehicle brand, model, color, which is very nice, using different color to represent. This could be very useful for example, shopping mall. Shopping mall, if let's say they know the most of the brand, let's say Toyota, right? Toyota is the highest percentage of vehicle come to visit them. That means their target audience should be, you know, most of the ordinary working adult or family, that kind of group. But if let's say most of the so-called patrons are all drive BMW, that means they shall to come up with a more premium goods, luxury goods promotion in order to attract those kind of customers. So it's a very useful database presentation platform, and all those kind of format, it can be so-called customized by the end user with a bar chart, pie chart, trend chart, you know, all different kind of, as long as we have the raw data, which is gathered by Vaxtor system. All right. So let's end at this nice graphic. And the next slide is my contact detail. And we are open for the Q&A session. Please do feel free to show me any kind of challenging question. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Christine.
I hope we have some good question.
Yeah, we have some questions from the attendees, and the first one I just replied. He said that the Vaxtor can connect the existing camera to do the ALPR, right? And I reply yes. And how many megapixels for the camera you recommend?
Typically, we just require 2 meg for single link. Yeah, if it's a 2 link, maybe 4 meg is okay. So 2 to 4 meg is considered good enough. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So right. just for you.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, and there's another question, say like Vaxtor can run on Axis ACAP already, right? Do you have plans to develop a lightweight solution application to join the SNSP App Store that is built by the OSSA?
Yeah. Actually, we have been talking to SAST platform before. This is not possible solution. Okay, so but right now I do not have a more clear answer on this particular topic. But it's definitely possible because it's not difficult for us. Yeah.
I see. And you mentioned Vaxtor has a module that can run on an Android OS, and there are some IP cameras are using Android OS already. So does that mean for those like IP camera with Android OS can run that specific modules?
Yes. Okay, but that particular module, the Android module, is a bit different from the rest of the software. Okay, the rest of the software basically is like it's a ready application software, so you can install, run, and use it and collect data, right? But for Android version of the software, we provide the SDK, which is the core OCR module, and also the machine learning module. But because for different apps, the original was designed for Android apps, right? So for different users, they prefer to use different apps. So they will have their own different language to write different apps. So they, by right, they shall be the one to develop their own apps. And we provide the backend OCR engine to collect to have the so-called the image acquisition, then process the image and push out the result to them. But they are the so-called the interface, the GUI. So this is a two parties collaboration in order to get the Android module to be done.
I see. Got it. And there's another question about a smart parking solution. So you showcase as one of the case from Hong Kong, which is a highly integrated solutions of your engine and a management platform for the car payment. So
yes.
So far, do you have like ready to go partners in different regions, or you will encourage the system integrators to use your engine and develop the whole solution on their own? Yeah.
Okay. Typically, we do encourage the local partner to have their own system. For the simple reason is that if let's say we talk about payment system, different country, they have a different payment gateway and they have a different rules and regulations. So for the local player, they have a better knowledge, to manage all those. So if let's say we have our own so-called partner and we just bring them all over, so they have to go through all those kind of paying process for different country. But instead, if let's say for the so-called either system integrator or for the different country, they have their own partner, because it's not a difficult thing to do. It's a pretty straightforward. And we do encourage for the different car park operator, they probably shall explore this kind of a solution because it empowers their own original system. Because anyway, they are doing car park management, right? So now they just need to have one more engine to calculate the total parking time just by license plate, instead of the previous, maybe they were using RFID card or they were using other kind of method. So it's complementary for them. Yeah.
I see. Clear. Got it. And the next one is, do you have a table to show the different features of VaxALPR and the on-cam, the PC, and Android? Like, we assume they have different feature lists, right? Some are available, some are not available. Yeah. So, is there?
Not really. Okay. The reason is because actually most of our engine are quite similar. So in terms of feature and the functionality, because for the engine itself, engine is very simple. Basically, we just like a radar to grab information. So if it's a ALPR engine, that means fundamentally I need to grab the license plate, no matter on what kind of a hardware platform. If it's an MMC engine, then I need to grab the vehicle's attribute, no matter what kind of platform. So the feature will be the same. The only difference is hardware platform. So it's not necessary for us to have that kind of table.
Got it. Clear. Let's see. Do you archive local raw data to? The question is about, do you archive local raw data to the central server? I think this is similar to the questions Andy asked when we have a local server, for example, on the police vehicle, and then we have a central server in the control center side. So we keep the raw data in the local data to the central server, right? That's the architecture, yes. The two-tier architecture.
Yes. So for the Helix local, they still keep that data, but on top of that, they also send a copy to the centralized Helix so that both tier all have the identical data. Yeah.
Clear. Got it. So, I didn't see that clearly. So the question is about does Vaxtor support CarPlay from the Philippines?
Yes. In fact, we already have a smart city project in Philippines, and that particular project is using the existing camera. So that was the reason we won that particular project, because We all know recently, globally, the camera chipset are in high shortage, right? So everywhere basically are short of a chipset. So camera in a way is like become a relatively expensive commodity. So the Philippine government is very conservative in terms of budget. So they would love to find a software which is able to use back their existing camera. But since for our software, we do not have a high requirement in terms of the camera resolution. We just need 2 meg, which is good enough. So the only thing is that if the camera lens is not suitable, then what they need to do is just change a suitable lens and the camera can still be used back. So which is a very cost-effective solution for a lot of end users.
I see. Okay, and so about a dashboard, that's one of the things I like a lot. So can I say, so all kind of metadata that the Vaxtor engine can detect, the user can organize all those data on a dashboard, right? As the way they want to show it.
Yes, basically, whatever data which is collected by Helix, and we provide a very flexible configuration, so-called a menu for user to configure different dashboard. So in a way, it's very flexible. Yeah.
I see. So can you share with us about how the licensing model of the dashboard module? Like, is that depends on every single camera, or it depends on like the detection engine? So how should we calculate the license required for the dashboard? Yeah.
Okay, so basically we for the licensing of the dashboard itself is just an additional plugin module on top of Helix. So it's also considered the quantity of a camera we are talking about. Yeah, that's all about it. The good thing about Vaxtor's so-called licensing, Vaxtor provider license is all perpetual license. So which means it's a one-time cost for the customer instead of a recurring and every month or every year they have to pay for that. On top of that, Vaxtor basically provide a very flexible kind of so-called software maintenance, that kind of a future upgrade package in case customer want to enjoy new features from Vaxtor itself. But if let's say customer is totally satisfied with what they are having right now, they can just keep their original software.
Clear. Any other questions, everybody?
Yeah.
We have an expert online, so it will be great to hear your questions. Yeah.
You have our email, okay? So do feel free to reach us.
Yeah.
So if you think I'm too long-winded, right? So you can reach Jason and Tia for short.
Yeah.
I
just as you see.
Yeah.
As you see, Christine is very experienced in this industry, right? So if you have any ideas or you have any partners who like to discuss with Christine, feel free to send an email to her, and then you can arrange a meeting with your customer, right? Just
just use Christine. Me as your technical so-called free advisor, okay? To use me to create the project for you, okay? To do the whatever presentation for you in front of your important end user. I'm only talk about technical. So for commercial, basically, I will totally leave to you to handle with your customer. It's,
free consultant.
Yeah, free consultancy. Yeah.
And if you feel like knowing more information about Vaxtor for smart city and smart seaports, last year, 2020, we actually did 2 other webinars specifically for smart city sessions and the smart port section together with Christine. You can go to Optix official YouTube channel to find the archive. So that session is specifically about the use cases for smart city and smart seaport. Yeah.
Yes, we have more things to come. Yeah. The next one, I probably want to do smart warehouse. Okay. Once we have the solution ready, I will share with the whole NX team. Okay.
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
We have another question that will your software work with the ARH cameras? ARH?
ARH. Okay. ARH is a professional ALPR camera. Definitely, we are able to work with that as long as they provide RTSP string and the UNWIF standard. That's okay for us. So far, we are able to work with any camera which is able to provide RTSP string and our UNWIF standard. So in terms of specification, we can have a tool map, or if let's say for a lot of professional ALPR camera, the resolution, okay, older version are less than that, perhaps only 720p or even lower resolution than that. But we still can use back, no problem. But maybe the lens, we always emphasize the lens, the optical lens is critical for us in order to have that kind of pixel density. Is much more useful than a high resolution. I would rather you give me a good lens than give me a so-called a 4K aim. Okay, which is cheaper for you as well. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, any other questions? No.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
That's great. So here's our contact information. Please feel free to contact us anytime. If you have questions about Vaxtor, questions about NX, anything we could possibly help, just feel free to contact us. We will be more than happy to, come up with some proposal and do some brainstorming with you and your customers together.
Yeah. Yes.
Please use us. We are free resources.
Exactly.
Okay. So thank you for joining for the day 2 of the webinar week, and wish you a good evening, right?
Yeah, it's a good afternoon.
Yeah, almost evening.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, thank you guys. Thank you guys. See you again.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, thank you. Take
Thanks
care.
for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a great
Thanks,
day.
Jason. Thanks, Andy, for having me.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, guys.